The forest is a place of wonder and adventure, but when the sun goes down and the familiar sounds of the day are replaced by the whispers of the night, it can transform into something entirely different. The crackle of a campfire, a rustle in the leaves. Suddenly, these simple things take on a new, more sinister meaning. Tonight, we're venturing into that darkness. We're going to share 3 true camping horror stories, submitted by viewers like you, that might just make you think twice before pitching your tent in the wild again. So, gather close to the fire, make sure your lantern is lit, and let's begin. Our first story comes from a hiker named Mark, who decided to go on a solo trip through the Appalachian Trail a few years back. Mark was an experienced outdoorsman, not easily spooked. He'd spent countless nights under the stars and thought he'd seen and heard it all. But one particular night, deep in the forests of North Carolina, proved him wrong. He'd set up camp in a small clearing, miles from any known trail. The day had been peaceful, but as dusk settled, a strange quiet fell over the woods. The usual chorus of crickets and frogs was completely absent. It was an unnerving silence, heavy and absolute. As Mark was getting ready to turn in, he heard it. A single, clear note like a child humming a simple tune. It seemed to come from all directions at once. He sat up, straining his ears, his heart starting to pound. The humming continued, a simple, looping melody that was both innocent and deeply unsettling. He grabbed his heavy-duty flashlight and scanned the tree line, its powerful beam cutting through the inky blackness. Nothing. Just an endless wall of trees. He called out, "Hello? Is anyone out there?" The humming stopped. For a moment, there was only that suffocating silence again. Then, from a spot much closer to his tent, he heard a giggle. A child's giggle. Mark's blood ran cold. He knew, logically, there was no reason for a child to be out here, alone, in the middle of the night. He zipped his tent shut, his hands trembling. The giggling started again, this time accompanied by the sound of small, bare feet running in circles around his tent. Pitter-patter on the damp earth. The humming returned, louder now, right outside the thin nylon wall. He could hear the child's breath, a raspy, uneven sound that didn't sound quite right. Mark didn't dare make a sound. He sat frozen, clutching a camping knife for what felt like an eternity. The sounds continued for hours, the humming, the giggling, the running, circling his tent relentlessly. Just before dawn, as the first hint of light touched the sky, everything stopped. Complete silence returned. Mark waited until the sun was fully up before he dared to peek outside. The ground around his tent was covered in morning dew, undisturbed. There were no footprints, not a single one. He packed up in a panic and hiked for 12 hours straight without stopping until he reached a ranger station. To this day, he can't explain what happened, but he has never gone camping alone again. Next, we have a story from a couple, Sarah and Ben, who were camping in a remote part of the Pacific Northwest. They were celebrating their anniversary and had chosen a beautiful, secluded spot by a lake, far from any crowded campgrounds. The first night was perfect. Clear skies, a brilliant starry canopy, and the gentle lapping of water against the shore. It was on their second night that things took a terrifying turn. They had just finished dinner and were enjoying the warmth of the campfire when they noticed a strange light across the lake. It was a single flickering orange glow, like another campfire. They hadn't seen anyone else hike in, but the area was vast, so they figured another camper had just found a spot on the opposite shore. They waved, but there was no response. A couple of hours passed. The light across the lake didn't behave like a normal campfire. It seemed to move, hovering just above the ground and drifting slowly along the shoreline. It would disappear behind trees and then reappear moments later, further down. Sarah felt a growing sense of unease. "That's not a campfire," she whispered to Ben. He agreed, trying to rationalize it. "Maybe it's a ranger on an ATV?" But there was no engine sound, no noise at all, just the eerie, silent movement of the light. Then it started moving towards them, not along the shore, but straight across the surface of the water. The orange glow floated over the dark, still lake, getting closer and closer to their camp. Panic set in. This defied all logic. It wasn't a boat. There was no shape, just the disembodied light. They scrambled to douse their fire, hoping to hide in the darkness. As the light reached their side of the lake, it rose from the water and drifted into the woods just beyond their campsite. Sarah and Ben huddled together in their tent, listening. They heard a slow, deliberate snapping of twigs, as if something was walking, pacing back and forth, just out of sight. Every few minutes, they'd see the orange glow illuminate the side of their tent as it passed by. They didn't sleep a wink, too terrified to even breathe loudly. This went on for the entire night. The moment the sun rose, the light and the footsteps vanished. They threw their gear into their car and sped away. When they later looked at maps of the area, they discovered that the spot where they first saw the light across the lake was an old, abandoned cemetery, long since swallowed by the forest. Our final story tonight comes from a group of 4 friends, Liam, Chloe, Mia, and Noah, who went camping in a national park known for its sprawling, dense forests. It was their annual tradition, a way to disconnect and bond. They were deep in the backcountry, following a less-traveled trail. On their 3rd day, they came across something odd. Nailed to a large oak tree was an old, weathered wooden doll, the kind with a porcelain face and cloth body. Its painted-on smile was chipped and faded, and its button eyes seemed to stare blankly into the woods. It was creepy, but they brushed it off as a strange prank or a weird trail marker and continued on their way. They set up camp about a mile further down the trail. That night, as they sat around the fire sharing stories, Chloe suddenly gasped and pointed towards the edge of the woods. "Guys, look!" They all turned. Propped up against a tree just at the edge of the firelight was the doll. It was the same one they had seen nailed to the tree a mile back. A nervous laugh went through the group. "Okay, very funny, Noah," Liam said, but Noah swore he hadn't touched it. Everyone denied it. They were all unnerved, but they tried to convince themselves one of them was pulling an elaborate prank. To put an end to it, Liam took the doll and buried it under a large pile of rocks a good distance away from their camp. He made sure it was securely buried. They tried to laugh it off and went to bed, though no one felt truly at ease. In the middle of the night, Mia woke up needing to use the restroom. As she unzipped the tent, the moonlight illuminated the camp. Her heart stopped. Sitting on the log right in front of their fire pit, the exact spot where Chloe had been sitting earlier, was the doll. Its head was tilted, its button eyes seeming to stare directly at her tent. She let out a scream that woke everyone up. They all saw it. There was no prank, no explanation. This was impossible. The doll was just there. Panic erupted. They didn't even bother to pack. They grabbed their keys and flashlights and ran, stumbling through the dark woods all the way back to their car. They drove out of the park in the dead of night and never looked back. Liam says the worst part wasn't seeing the doll reappear. It was the feeling that its empty, button eyes were watching them the entire way. And with that, our campfire stories for the night come to a close. From a phantom child's song in the Appalachians to a ghostly light on a remote lake, and a haunted doll that refused to be left behind, the wilderness holds secrets we may never understand. It reminds us that when we step into the wild, we are stepping into a world that operates by its own ancient, mysterious rules. Thank you so much for joining me around the fire tonight. If you have a spooky story of your own you'd like to share, please send it our way. Don't forget to like this video if it gave you a chill, and subscribe to the channel for more true scary stories. Stay safe out there and always, always trust your instincts. Good night.